The man, the myth, the legend, Francis Ford Coppola, returning to the big screen after decades of not really putting a lot much of his films on the big screen. So, can he return? Can he win people back with this movie, or is he just BSing everybody for the sake of, just wanted to come back? I mean, we are talking about a legendary filmmaker here. Legendary for his work. And whether you like it or not, can't deny his impact on movie making as a whole has stand the test of time, him and along with other of his colleagues. We're in a crowded market with regards to a lot of directors out there, so can Mr. Coppola bring back some of that original charm that he once did all those years ago? Maybe, maybe not.
Go.
Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.
Megalopolis is directed and written by Francis Ford Coppola, the man that brought you the Godfather trilogy as well as Apocalypse Now. Both the first two Godfathers as well as Apocalypse Now are widely considered to be not only his best work ever, but are considered to be some of the greatest films to ever be put to screen. I couldn't imagine a time in which nobody could ever say that his movies suck. At the very least, the first two Godfathers and Apocalypse Now, if somebody were to tell me that those movies suck, I would be completely surprised, because pretty much unanimously, these are usually considered to be just classics at this point. The film stars Adam Driver, Giancarlo Esposito, Nathalie, Emmanuel, Aubrey Plaza, Shia LaBeouf, Jon Voight, Laurence Fishburne, Kathryn Hunter, and Dustin Hoffman. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, the city of New Rome faces the duel between Caesar Catalina, a brilliant artist in favor of a utopia future, and the greedy mayor Franklin Cicero. Between them is Julia Cicero, with her loyalty divided between her father and her beloved. Francis Ford Coppola has been wanting to make this movie for over 40 years. He has been wanting to pen this, to make it to the big screen for such a long time, but unfortunately he had a hard time finding people to finance as well as distribute this movie because of how much studios had said it was impossible, it seems too ambitious, it seems too big, that they just don't understand it. Coppola decided years later, I'm going to self-finance this movie on my own with a budget of $120 million. Most of that money coming from his winery. And yes, I mean, when you get to a point in your life, especially at an old age, what do you do besides filmmaking? Oh, you do side hobbies. So I'll do some winery. So most of that money is made from that alone. After decades, Coppola finally managed to make his dream project come to life. When the film premiered at Cannes, there was a divisiveness about this movie. A lot of critics either cited this as being such a laudable film, some seeing it as a joke, laughing stock, just downright bad, and some are in the mix. Some people are like, it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't all that amazing. And of course, along with the controversy surrounding Coppola's on-set behavior towards extras and crew members, and then of course Aubrey Plaza having her say on things. There was also having to find a distributor for this movie because, when it premiered at Cannes, a lot of studios just kind of saw it and they were like, I don't know, very divisive. This seems like this is not a good choice to pick. And so it had a very hard time for a while until it was bought by Lionsgate. And then, of course, there was the infamous AI-generated trailer, which did not help the movie out in any way. So let's just say it was not an easy journey for Megalopolis to finally hit the big screen. But when it did, watching it, because I was excited for this movie, I'm going to be honest, I can understand the divisiveness about this movie. Hands down, I am not going to argue with anybody that says they're right or wrong, or that they're stupid, or that they're uneducated, or that they're too high-minded. I'm just saying, do I understand the divisiveness? Yes, 100%. Some parts I see are good moments in this movie that I actually do think could lend itself, but I'm not gonna lie, there are other moments that hurt this movie in the long run, and that is a very sad thing for me to say, because as much as I wanted to be so excited to say that this is an amazing film, I gotta be honest with you guys, I walked away kind of feeling like, wow, I'm a little underwhelmed and kind of disappointed. Not hating, just really disappointed. But before addressing my problems, here are the positives that I saw with the movie. The performances are entertaining. The entire cast does a good job with keeping the movie engaging. Without them, I truly think that this movie would have been lackluster without them. And as much as so many people can criticize the writing, I will get to that in a moment. I will say, I do think that the cast does the best with what they are given, and I do think they do, for me, I say this to me, rise above the material that they are given. At least that's how I feel. Like, for example, I think Adam Driver is enjoyable. I think he is likable in the role. I just do think that even though that performance, or at the very least all the casts are great, the writing is something to be said. But at the very least, I have to commend the actors for at least giving it their all, at least how I saw it. The direction is solid. Director Francis Ford Coppola shows his vision on full display, and his passion is felt throughout. He truly got to make the movie that he wanted to make in his own way, and that is a very hard task, especially for a man like Francis Ford Coppola. You mean to tell me this man who directed the Godfather movies as well as Apocalypse Now, you're telling me this man had a hard time to get people to finance this movie and distribute it, even though he is Francis Ford Coppola? That's kind of surprising. And I kind of admire him in a way for actually trying to want to make the movie that he envisioned. He wanted to make what he felt like was necessary to get this movie made, and what he saw fit to be put into this movie, and how he manages to capture it all from his directing style. I think it shows a lot of passion and a lot of heart was put into the project that he wanted to make. Cinematography is gorgeous. Cinematographer Mila Mullamar Jr. shows the pageantry and spectacle of New Rome while making it feel personal. The film is pure glamour, and the way New Rome looks is just incredible. It's shot well. I think that, of course, it is taking designs from New York, but then, of course, maybe like some parts of maybe Chicago. But of course, is an allegory of, the U.S. being much Rome. And so I think the way it's all captured, this world that Coppola wants to create, I think is done well because of Milamar Jr.'s cinematography that does lend itself to Coppola's vision. The music is stellar. Composer Osvaldo Jolijov makes a score that makes it grand and vibrant in tone, fitting well with Coppola's vision as well. The film feels like an opera in how it's all put together through the music, and how it feels very grand, it feels very big, bright, colorful, and so to have the music complement the feeling of a glamorous society, I think complements how Coppola wanted this movie to feel like this is as big and as spectacle as it can be. The production is incredible. It's crazy on how everything looked terrific, even with $120 million. Costumes, sets, props, it all makes the movie feel big in scope and scale, especially the sets. I think the sets are amazing, and some of the costume designs are incredible to me. And to see that amount of work put into this film is amazing. Of course, though, I can't talk about it without mentioning the rough conditions that did to make this movie, and probably the uncomfortableness that Coppola was doing. So, in a way, if all this is true, he's a piece of shit. But I'm just saying, production-wise, the craftsmanship of it all, I think, is all top-notch. Though I appreciate his commitment to his vision, unfortunately, it tries to shoot for the moon, but it's floating in Earth's orbit. In other ways, it kind of feels like Coppola had way too many things going on, and for that, it does kind of hurt itself in the end. So now here are the negatives. The story is convoluting, with themes that touch upon seeking a brighter future, evolution, greed, society, and fate. It feels all over the place. It all leads to a jumbled plot that could have been a lot tighter and narrower. There are so many ideas in this movie that I think could lend itself, and maybe some may think that it's out of date, but I think there are good ideas in here. Really good ideas that could lend itself to a story. But what we get instead is pretty much a lot of metaphoricals and allegories that I just feel like aren't sustainable, when the story itself about this guy who wants to create a utopian future for New Rome, battling with the mayor, and then the daughter falling in love with this brilliant artist, but still trying to still be on her father's side. It just kind of feels like Coppola had a hard time of, okay, which do I choose to focus and which do I choose to make it to be the central part? Because it also has to deal with corruption as well as greed and power. And so to have all those mixed into this romance story, I just kind of feel like there's just so much that there's not enough room to breathe. And so I do think that he could have cut things or taken things out that I think could have lent this film to be as strong as it could have been. The writing is stilted. Coppola's writing feels too hand-fisted and bland that the dialogue feels heavy-handed. At least the actors make it up at best. And that's the thing that I am surprised with, is the writing in this movie is just very much heavy-handed. It feels very much like it is trying so hard to get the message across, but it's almost like in your face rather than subtly giving you that message. I think that's what a lot of people expect, is to have subtle messages that actually can work into the movie to make it stronger instead of in your face, because when it's in your face a lot of the times, it gets to a point where it becomes so obvious that you're just sort of like, man, can we take a break from this? This is all interesting, but can we take a break from pointing it out in like big circle and pointing at it, because that's what it's starting to feel like. The visuals are distracting. Anytime any visual effects are used, it all feels cheap and lifeless with how it looks. In the end, it all kind of looks AI, and I do believe that there was some AI usage in this movie that does, I think, hurt it, because I am a big proprietor of not having AI in films. I think a lot of people in the film industry can say that. And so to have AI be used for some of the visual effects, it doesn't look good. It just feels really hollow, and it feels creepy in a way. Pacing and runtime is too long. Every scene feels extended and drawn out. With a runtime of 2 hours and 18 minutes, the movie could have been less than 2.5 hours, if you ask me. I don't think this movie needed to be 2.5 hours. This movie, I think, could have been like an hour and 50, or at least 2 hours at max. I don't think that this movie should have been as long as it did. I just kind of feel like it was made long because, well, it's Francis Ford Coppola. He has free range to do what he wants to make, at the very least for writing stance. And so when you get that, it just kind of feels like an artist kind of rambling on for too long. The editing is a mess. The way the film is put together feels random. Sometimes it's cut short, and other times it's cut too long. How the editing process is worked in this movie feels really strange to me, because sometimes, like I said, scenes will be shortened and some scenes will be elongated, and it just doesn't feel like there is an even balance between the two. It just kind of feels like it's teeter-tottering and kind of going back and forth on what to do and how to make scenes feel as if time is passing. And it just kind of feels like it's just having this internal struggle of what to do with how the editing is supposed to go. I found some appreciation with aspects of this movie, and I appreciate what Coppola was trying to do, but other parts, it's weighed down by having a massive ambition. I think that's kind of what hurts it, a massive ambition. And for that, in the end, it's a huge disappointment from a legendary filmmaker like Coppola. And it kind of worries me, because I don't know if he'll make another movie, especially since this movie didn't do well. Now, granted, Lionsgate will probably lose, like, what, maybe $100 million? But for Coppola, that's a lot of money. $120 million, that's a lot of money for him. And for Lionsgate, I mean, this is not looking good this year for them with the movies that has been released. So, who knows? I'm going to give Megalopolis a 5 out of 10. I think it's average. I think it's alright. It's one that I kind of respect, but at the same time, I can't deny there are aspects of this movie that I can't deny that, yeah, some of this could have been much better than what we were given. And for Coppola to kind of still hold on to his wishes, I admire, but at the same time, I do think he should have been told some things of like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that would work. Or let's take some of this out so that way it could be much better. Yeah, disappointing all around. So now I will give my review for The Royal Robot, and then September could be over and we can move on to October. So yes, look forward to those reviews and other movie TV show reviews coming soon.